And welcome into the first mock draft of 2021 for the Fantasy 4-Pack. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Frankie Santiago, and for the first time this season, Matt Vitale. We're still working out some audio issues with him, but we've got a makeshift solution in the meantime. We've also, as you may know, actually, Frankie, is the draft board up on the screen yet, or am I going to be talking about it so it's not actually being shown?
No, it is on the screen. It looks it looks pretty beautiful too.
I just want to make sure that I wasn't like, as you may notice, the draft board on the screen and have it not be, as you may notice from looking at the draft board on the screen, we're not on FantasyPros for our mock draft currently. We've rotated over to Sleeper, at least for the time being, for our mock drafts. It seems that FantasyPros mock drafts aren't up and running for another 3 months. So in the meantime, we're going to be mock drafting over here on Sleeper. It's a pretty solid app. It's probably my favorite one to run redraft and dynasty leagues on. So I recommend bringing your leagues over here. Not a sponsor, just an app that I think is doing a bang up job. And we're going to see how their mock draft software works. So you'll be joining us all today on a fact finding discovery. But before we dive into that, we got a little bit of news to dive through, some fantasy football news, if you will. And boy, is it, some of it's juicy, some of it's boring. Should I start juicy or boring?
Let's work our way up to the good stuff.
Okay. So the saddest and most boring stuff, Jeff Wilson Jr. somehow tore his meniscus in May and is out for 4 to 6 months.
Well, according to FantasyPros, it's not even the preseason yet, so how does that happen?
I assume he took a bad tumble walking down some stairs, or maybe he slipped in the shower.
Working out, things like that.
Yeah, perhaps he was picking up some groceries and there were a spilled carton of eggs and he slipped on some eggs. I don't know. I don't know how you tear I get it is OTAs are going on right now, but as far as I understand, obviously I've never been in OTAs myself, but as far as I understand it, those are generally just walkthroughs. There's not really running.
I'm gonna assume this was a non-contact injury.
Yeah, I mean that's common. That's a safe assumption for any 49ers running back, actually. Not just Jeff Wilson Jr., but all jokes aside, sad for Jeff Wilson. He's not really relevant for fantasy, but it just sucks to see a player go down in May. And speaking of guys who aren't relevant for fantasy, Otto Beckham Jr.'s recovery from a torn ACL is supposedly going good. He's looking spry, and he is expected to be a full participant in minicamps.
Do you guys think he's going to have fun playing football again this year?
I honestly don't care.
Fair enough.
I will say I saw that the Browns aren't interested in Julio Jones, so I think that means they're sticking with Odell or they just don't want either of them.
Yeah, I hope that we can get some of the flash from Odell's earlier days back, but I think those days are gone. Hopefully now he's more of just a good football player that can help the Browns, push for a title this year, because I think they're a serious contender. But I think his fantasy, first, second round value is no longer there. I think he's more of a mid-round to late-round guy at best.
And then moving on to some of the bigger names on this list here. A little bit of news on the Julio Jones trade front. Julio Jones is likely to request a new contract if traded from whatever team he goes to. He is currently owed $38 million over 3 years, I believe. So I don't really know what he's looking for from a new contract unless he's going to be like, I want a pay decrease.
I was going to say, is he looking to go up or down?
I'm not sure if Julio's aware that he's already being paid a lot for a 32-year-old wide receiver.
He, in fact, is, and I'm very confused by this. You have to assume he's looking for more, maybe.
No, typically asking for a new contract means that you're looking for more.
The only thing I could see is maybe he's kind of looking the sun in the face and being like, you know what? I probably don't have 3 years left. Maybe I'll just go to a contender for, well, we'll say the cheap for Julio.
He wants to make a big bucket of cash or on a 2-year contract.
Yeah, and then just go like a contender or somebody.
I feel like this has got to hurt his trade value. He's still Julio Jones. Any team would be thrilled to receive him as a as compensation for draft picks or whatever you're giving up to get him. But if you got to shell out picks or players to get Julio on your team, and then you're also shelling out a new contract, ooh, that's a steep price for a guy who can't stay on the field and is in the twilight years of his NFL career.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping he's just looking for a restructure where maybe he understands he doesn't have the value anymore, so he's just trying to get some years um, on top of this contract. I can't really see where he can make an argument to say he deserves more. I mean, we know he has the talent. The problem is the talent's not translating onto the field because he's not staying healthy. So as much as I still want him, I hope he's not looking for the moon anymore with the contracts.
That is the hope. And then on to the final two names on the news. This one's a bit of a cheating as far as saying that it's a name because it's really more of a team. Aaron Rodgers and all of the Packers wide receivers, and you might think I'm using hyperbole here. No, literally all of the Packers wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers and Devonte Adams, MVS, Allen Lazard, Devin Funchess, and Equanimeous St. Brown all skipped OTAs last Tuesday. I'm trying not to read into this too much, but like that's got to be a bit of a statement from your just offense as a whole, I guess. Pretty much at that point, like when everyone skips, and it's just Jordan Love throwing to like I don't know the receiving coach or something. I don't even know who there is left to throw to at that point.
So does this mean that Rodgers is just taking everyone wherever he goes?
I mean it's hard not to read this as a. It's hard not to read this as a statement from the receiving corps that they are choosing Rodgers over the team, which is pretty damning for the team, honestly.
Yeah, this is pretty bad for the team, and I think honestly, I'm more surprised by some of the young guys that would side with Rodgers because while Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer and one of the best quarterbacks playing right now, his time is limited, and ideally, you're going to be playing after Rodgers. And now for all these young wideouts, when Rodgers is gone, then how's the team going to look at them for walking out and putting Rodgers, their quarterback they've had only for 2-3 years, over the team that they want to be with for 10, 12 years? I don't know. I think it's a bad look for the.
You got to figure that Adams isn't worried about his value, and the rest of these guys are no-name guys who need Rodgers to throw them the ball to get that contract. So it makes perfect sense to me. They're tying themselves to where they think the most value is. Clearly this is if anything, this is a statement against Jordan Love. They're saying they don't believe that Jordan Love's gonna be a good enough quarterback to make them look good.
Right. I mean, like you said, I get what you're saying with that one, and obviously Devonte Adams can kind of do what he wants because he is a star in this league. But I think I look at it from the guys who aren't more established, that are younger. They could potentially get cut from this, and then when you're going to another team and trying to be like, I'm a good fit for your team because of this. Like, well, are you going to walk out if you have quarterback troubles again? Are you going to, put quarterback over team? Like, it's a team sport, and I do agree when a team is not doing right by their players, sometimes you have to show some force. But I think that for the wide receivers to walk out, I think that's just a bad look. But I don't know. This whole thing is just looking really bad for the Packers as a whole, and I really want to just avoid anything playing in Green Bay this year.
It's a train wreck. It is. It's not even fun to. It's not even one of those trains that's fun to watch because
I think it's fun to watch because I want Rodgers to go somewhere else. I want to see the Packers get brought down a peg because
I do not
because they've had 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks over the course of their history, and they've got like no Super Bowls to show for it. Like they don't deserve the wealth they've been given. Send Rodgers to a needy team like the Broncos. And let him make some sweet music with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy.
All right.
And then probably the biggest and saddest news: Saquon Barkley, who tore his knee back in week 2 against the Bears. I'm not a doctor. Or Steelers, Bears. It was against the Bears. Way back last year. We're getting conflicting reports on his recovery, and it's starting to sound like it's not going great. So Schefter reported about a week ago that he was on track to be ready for the start of the season. Everything was looking good. But then Jonathan Tisch, the Giants co-owner, came out and said that while he's pleased with Barkley's rehab, he doesn't know if Barkley will be able to begin the season on the field. And then additionally, I saw this reported on, I think it's Heavy.com. They were quoted Jordan Renom, who is a team insider, and he was saying that even if Barkley can start the season on the field, he may not be getting a full workload until sometime in the middle of the season.
It's sad to an extent where it's like
Well, so it's not even the full workload, like the full workload part, and then maybe not starting the field on the season on the field part is less of a, from what I could tell from reading into it, it was less of a issue with Barkley's recovery and more that the Giants don't want to rush their all-star running back and potentially hurt him more. Yeah. So it sounds like the Giants are going to be taking the cautious approach with Barkley, unless this is all a smoke screen, in which case. But like, we only have this to go on. We have to take this at face value until we get more information. So it's like, this makes Barkley a very dicey selection for fantasy managers if this is still what the situation looks like come August.
Well, he is not my number one this year, so I don't have to worry about that.
He's not my number one either, but he's still got a very high draft selection.
Yep.
But
Speaking of which,
yeah, for Barkley, it's like I liked him up there in that elite level range in the top 4, top 3 picks. Again this year, just because of how much of a threat he is in all facets of the game.
Yep.
If he's going to be on a pitch, if he's actually going to be on a pitch count, you got to be wondering what is that actually going to look like? How much does the other guys factor in? And that value, it's like, what are we getting out of him? Is he actually still banged up? Like, there's just so many questions for fantasy managers. I think that I would just pass on him if I have one of the top 3, 4 picks and just grab somebody who's a little bit more known. But I could also see this swinging the other way. He drops down boards and you get him at 8, and he could be just a home run for you. He could be like Dalvin Cook last year, where you could get him at 7, 8.
So he does have a decent name behind. I mean, Devontae Booker's no slouch.
Yeah.
I could see Barkley maybe losing a bit of the passing work and maybe being their primary runner, but getting less of that throwing volume until the Giants decide that he is a full go. Where do you guys think you would with this news? If the draft is tomorrow, where do you guys think you'd take him?
Well, considering they just said they don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season, the season's starting tomorrow. I'm So if you're asking where I'm taking him, I'm not.
But that's you would take him at a certain point.
That's what I'm saying. Like the threshold. If he was still on the.
Like,
for me, like I said,
too much of a value quickly, for you. You can't pass him up.
Yeah, just like looking at the board and the quick value evaluation I would do, I would take over him. I would take Kamara. I would take Henry. I would take Cook, McCaffrey, Chubb, Taylor. I think Zeke and Aaron Jones is the area where I have to start thinking about him because
like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think 9 is probably a good spot. Where I would have to take the value.
Fair. That's kind of where I am too. There's a handful of running backs and a couple wide receivers that I would take over him. But once I'm getting down to like Ezekiel Elliott, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, that's where I start looking at Barkley if this information is true.
Yeah, it's like
it turns out that he's running strong in preseason and training camps and he's on track to start the season as a full go. Then he's right back into my top 3.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would say probably around that same range. I mean...
Yeah, because at that point in the draft, if you get him at 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that area, you can easily turn around and grab another running back to kind of give yourself some cushion in case he is off to a slow start.
Sure. At that point, you're basically just trying to get some depth of position and hope that you're drafting a league winner late in the first round and,
yep.
if he's starting slow, you can at least weather the storm. Well, that's all the news that I had. Was there anything you guys were seeing that I didn't bring up?
No, that's pretty much it. I guess we'll see how this goes, seeing as we've never used this client to mock draft.
I mean, they're a pretty solid client usually. Yeah. So we are doing a 12-team half-point PPR draft to start off our mock drafts. 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex spot, and 1 defense. If you're asking why there's no kickers, you should reevaluate your league settings. Any thoughts you guys want to share before we start this? You guys ready to just launch straight in?
I'm ready to go.
Cool. Well, Vitaly will be leading us off with the 101. I have the 6th spot, and Frankie's down there at 10. Vitaly, take us away.
So, like I said, if Saquon Barkley was healthy, ready to go, I might take him here. But it's a 3-man conversation, now down to a 2-man conversation at the 101 for me. It's either Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook. going into this year, I think I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey because I feel like his ceiling is higher, and we got to see that when he did come back. He was amazing. It's just he wasn't playing last year, so you got no value out of him. Whereas Dalvin is starting to get over his injury bug. I just think I think Carolina's offense has a chance to be a little bit better than Dalvin Cook's, and McCaffrey is a little more of a focal point. I just see a little more upside with McCaffrey than I do Cook. So, like I said, I couldn't argue. If you want to take Dalvin in the one spot, I can't really argue against it.
All right. So after Vitale went, we had Saquon Barkley, Devonte Adams, Dalvin Cook, and Derrick Henry go off the board. For me, this isn't a particularly tough pick at 6. I'm going to take my boy Nick Chubb and not look back. Nick Chubb missed 4 games last season. It was still the running back 11. I've been waxing poetically about him, for some time in our episodes this season. I think he's a smash pick at 6. After me, we had Kamara, Hill, and Aaron Jones go off the board, leaving Frankie to be able to select a running back at 10. I think you know where he's going with, too.
Yep, and I am just going to go ahead and slap Jonathan Taylor in there.
It's a solid. I think it's a solid 10 pick.
Very obvious. I mean, I was actually expecting him to go a little bit higher because then I had my fallback of Aaron Jones, or that trio of wide receivers I all like. I think that we talked about this a little bit in our ranking show. If you haven't watched that, you can go check that up in the top right corner. I'll slap it up there. But there's so much talent in the top 3 rounds for especially these position players this year. It's hard to not be able to find value even at the back of the draft, especially at the turnaround too. And I am going to go ahead and pick a guy that I was very high on last year. And it's going to be a wide receiver. And I think we all are in that same boat.
You're a bastard man, Frankie.
AJ Brown is
You're a bastard man.
He is phenomenal, and I think I would say he's probably going to be top 3 this year.
That's a tough run of it for me leading up to my pick. So after Jonathan Taylor, it was Ezekiel Elliott, Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf. Obviously, you took AJ Brown. Then we had Travis Kelce, our first tight end, Justin Jefferson, Cam Akers, leaving me with a bunch of guys that I'm not super jazzed about at my pick. So I'm kind of torn here. I'm of the opinion, looking at this year's draft, that we have absurd wide receiver depth. But I want Calvin Ridley, especially if Julio Jones is on his way out of town. I think Calvin Ridley is in a spot to go even higher than he was last season. I just can't in good conscience take Calvin Ridley at this pick, knowing that running back dries up really fast. So I'm going to take Austin Eckler here. Give myself a solid running back duo. I don't think Eckler suffers the same injuries he did last season, and we saw what Eckler's ridiculous receiving volume can look like for him as a running back. I think he's a great running back too. After my pick, Patrick Mahomes went off the board a little bit early, honestly, middle of the second round, and then Antonio Gibson, Michael Thomas, Joe Mixon, before Vitale gets the wraparound at the 212 spot.
Yeah, I was hoping some of those guys came here, but realistically, it's just
which ones were you really hoping we're going to fall to? Was it Gibson?
Eckler and Akers were my 2 top up there. I like Gibson a lot. I just feel like he's going a little bit too high for my price. Like, sure. I think I probably would have taken him around my pick because I know I'm not going to see him again. But with the wraparound, I got to get something here. So I am going to go ahead and lock up Calvin Ridley for my first pick here, just because I think after him, there's just a huge drop-off at wide receiver. I think he's one of the last few elite guys you can really get. Now you're moving into the more consistent, solid picks, but they're not going to wow you. Like Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, I both think they're fine picks, but they just don't. I don't think they have the quality that Calvin Ridley can produce.
This is like a really good spot to get Calvin Ridley too, where it's like you're not sacrificing any ceiling really to get him there.
Yeah, the other thing I was considering, if Calvin Ridley didn't make it to me, I was going to go double running back and just have 3 running backs here because there's a lot of guys here I think that have great potential. Sure. But I want to have, I think redundancy would help it. So I'm actually going to go here with a guy that I was very bullish on last year, and I'm going to go ahead and take CEH. Purely because we know the track record for Chiefs running backs and Andy Reid running backs being quality. I think CEH got off to a bad start. I see better future ahead of him, but when I look at the other guys around where he's going, Miles Sanders, I want to love Miles Sanders, but it's just not working out with him. And every time something gets good, they bring in a new running back. The coaches don't use him like they said they were going to use him. He gets hurt, things like that. And then DeAndre Swift, who they just brought in. They got rid of Kerryon Johnson to bring in an older Kerryon Johnson in Todd Gurley. So it's just like, I want to like Swift, but the team is showing that they don't want to believe in Swift.
So at my pick here, I'm probably going to take a. This is tough. I don't really like any of the guys on the board here. I don't like the third round. I'm honestly just going to go ahead and grab Keenan Allen here. I don't want to draft a wide receiver at this point. I was hoping George Kittle was going to fall to me, but he didn't. So Keenan Allen, I think provides a really safe floor that I can build around for the rest of my wide receiver core. After me, Terry McLaurin, J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery went off the board. Frankie, you are on the clock at the 3:10.
I already knew who I'm taking, but I do actually want to touch on those tight ends a little bit. I kind of like that Travis Kelce and George Kittle didn't really move up to like where we used to see Gronk going and where we used to see, I mean, I guess even Travis Kelce last year going.
I think you could see Travis Kelce go in the first round.
I think we're going to see them rise a little bit more, but I think that for now they've kind of retained that like spot, which I like a lot more than seeing that. Like, there doesn't need to be a tight end going in the first round. And I think that allows people to spread their drafts a little bit more. I need to leave the first 3 rounds with 2 running backs, so I'm just going to go ahead and lock up Chris Carson here. I didn't particularly like Najee Harris and where he went. I guess more so where he went. But on the wraparound here, I am...
You locked up Carson there, too, because that's really one of the last reliable running backs there.
And speaking of reliable, I am going to go ahead and pick up a guy that you have always talked about how reliable they are here.
Mr. Bob Woods?
I am going to pick up Bob Woods here. Split through the force for rounds and just, be happy with it. I think that, that offense is in a really great situation this year.
Sure.
Especially with the addition of Stafford. I think he's actually, spoiler alert.
Really decent stack candidate, too.
Spoiler alert, I think he is one of the better, later round QBs you can pick up.
So after your Chris Carson pick, it was Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Najee Harris, Julio Jones. Then obviously you took Bob Woods, Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen, Josh Jacobs, leaving Darren Waller to me at the 4-7. Darren Waller is one of the only tight ends that I'm willing to take in the first 4 or 5 rounds. So I'm thrilled that he fell to me. I think he gives me a huge positional advantage over most of the other teams in the league that don't draft a top 3 tight end. And honestly, he's much better. He's much better point for point than the wide receivers that were on the board at that point. After him, Kenny Golladay, CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, Myles Gaskin to Vitale at the 4-12. Who are you taking?
I don't really like this range a lot. There's a lot of guys that have a lot of huge question marks, and I feel like I'm reaching on some people. I honestly might end up
some risks here.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking some risk. I was thinking DJ Moore because I think that the changing quarterback might help him and help him get back to where he was, but it doesn't. It feels like a reach to take him at 4.
Sure.
I don't know if I gotta lock in something though. Like I want to take Deontay, but that Pittsburgh situation is not great. I'm just gonna go ahead and take DJ Moore. Here. I'm gonna go ahead and take DJ Moore right there, and then I think I was considering just going Deontay and DJ just to get my 5 main positions taken up. The other thing I'm thinking about with this pick right here, because I'm not gonna see him probably again, is Kyler Murray. It's a little early for quarterback, but the rushing upside for that kid and his quality of play is there. But I'm going to stick with what I was thinking originally and take Deontay just to give me a nice core in the first 5 rounds and then start and work. Yeah.
I know exactly who you're going to pick.
Immediately after your pick.
I knew exactly who you're going to pick here.
So I think there is a benefit to... I think there's a benefit to picking a rushing QB, especially an elite rushing QB early in drafts this year. Maybe not like 3rd round or 2nd round, but 4th, 5th, 6th round. I do think there's a large benefit to drafting a rushing QB. The cat's out of the bag on the snagging the late round rushing QB and getting all that sweet running upside with the throwing upside as well. Like people are just it's been pounded to people's heads for too many years. People are used to it now. They're going to be looking for it. So you have to zig where everyone else is zagging. You got to now grab them early if you want them. They're differentiators. I'm going to take Lamar Jackson here.
I am shocked and surprised. I did not see that coming at all.
He is possibly the best pure runner in the league at the QB position, and his throwing is, just kind of an ancillary point to what else he can do. After Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Cooper Kupp, Melvin Gordon, leaving Frankie with a little bit of a barren QB board at the 5-10.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and round out my receiving core here with Brandon Ayuk. He looked great last year.
If you drafted Tyler Lockett there, I was going to come across this.
Oh, no. I am avoiding Tyler Lockett with the 10-foot pole. We saw what he was last year. He's if you need 10 points, he'll get you 50 points. If you need 10 points, he'll get you 0 points.
We are Team Barry Tyler Lockett.
He's just so far down my board. It's not even worth looking at him at this point. I don't know how he's at 59, but,
That's a rant for another time.
Yeah. We'll save that for the wide receiver.
I really don't mind Ayuk there either. He's got a lot of upside. You're not spending too much on him, and the guys he's going around, I think he's clearly better than the guys that you can take around him. After Ayuk, it was Edmonds, James Robinson, Travis Etienne, and Tyler Lockett. Who are you looking at 6'3", Frankie?
I really I feel like I should take David Johnson here. But I also feel like there's a lot better options on the board.
You do need a running back.
I would say I do need a third running back, and that's my quant. And also, basically, I'm between Damien Harris, David Johnson, Ronald Jones. They're all in. Well, David Johnson's not in a great situation.
Not Raheem Mostert, even especially after the Jeff Wilson news.
No, because he's.
The games that you're getting out of him are going to be elite.
Yeah, I would go Rojo here if I was you.
I am gonna go ahead and just roll the dice here and go with Rojo.
That's what the mock draft season's for, my friend.
We saw how good he looked last year when he was playing. The thing is, when he has his slow games, they're really slow. You're not going to get that 10 points if you need it, or you're going to get 25.
I think the biggest thing going for Ronald Jones here is that Leonard Fournette sucks, and Ronald Jones doesn't. And I think we're going to see that, play out a little bit more over this season. Ronald Jones should get more playing time, in my opinion. And I'm personally statting him out like that. I think that he's going to be the lead back down there in Tampa. After Ronald Jones, it was Chase Claypool, Otto Beckham, Raheem Mostert. I really don't like Claypool this season. I don't see the upside for him with them retaining Juju. Raheem Mostert, I was hoping he was going to fall to me. With him not falling to me, though, I think I got to go ahead and grab another running back here. I'm going to take a shot in the dark and go after Damien Harris. I think he has a real chance to take over the running job in New England, and that offense should be much improved over what it was last year. After Damien Harris is David Johnson, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Robbie Anderson, and Vitale is up at 6'12".
A lot of gross here. That's what this is, I'm looking at. Lot of gross. Really though, I was hoping Damien Harris, Mostert, Ronald Jones. I was hoping one of those, maybe James Robinson. I was hoping one of those guys might get a little hate and slide my way.
James Robinson. Are you still James Robinson over Travis Etienne then?
Oh yeah, definitely. With the reports of them putting him out wide, I feel like the team is setting a clear example. They want to use Robinson as their running back, and then Etienne more of a scat back, third down type guy.
Sure.
So with this pick, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm just going to lock up a quarterback because I'm probably not going to see him around the next time. So I'm just going to go get Herbert because he's somebody I like, and I'm probably not going to see him around the back. For my other pick here, it is not a lot to like. So
Herbert definitely would not have made it back to you. So I think that's smart to pick him up there. Vitale, if I were you, I'd pick Mike Davis here.
Someone's got to run the ball in Atlanta.
No real competition for the job in Atlanta. We saw Todd Gurley with one knee last year be successful for fantasy managers. Mike Davis isn't a bad running back. You could do worse for a third running back than him, especially in the 7th round.
And Atlanta just feels like that one where someone else could end up emerging and supplanting him.
Sure, but they just they don't have anyone else.
Yeah.
After your pick, Juju Smith-Schuster, Dallas Goedert, DJ Chark, Will Fuller, to me at the 7-6, and I've been paying attention to other positions, so I really got to start focusing on my wide receiver position here.
Oh shit!
What?
You only have one wide receiver.
Yeah, but I'm not super worried about it. Wide receiver is a very deep position this year, and that's why I locked up Keenan Allen where I did, because he can anchor the position, and I can take some risks with my other guys. So I think I'm going to go ahead here, and there's a couple guys actually on the board that I'm very interested in this range. I think I'm going to take a shot at a guy that I was really high on a lot last year and go ahead and take Brandon Cooks. He's been just a consistent producer year in, year out. He's still the only guy in Houston. So, what you could do worse than him. Noah Fant, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers going to you at the 7-10. Frankie, who are you looking at?
I don't like any of the running backs that are on the board right now.
Sure.
I'm probably just going to go with, what I think is a safe pick and just pick up Tyler Boyd here. And then we'll circle around to see.
He was the one that I was kind of waffling between him and Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I'm going to just, for now, just pick him up there, see what's left on the turnaround.
So after your pick, Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, Zach Moss, Javonte Williams, I believe. Yes, Javonte Williams. Who are you looking at 8-3, Frankie?
All right, I'm rolling the dice here, and I think it's a very bold pick.
Bold is good.
It's not really that bold of a pick.
What are you looking at?
I'm gonna pick up Kyle Pitts here. And
I like it.
I like where he is. I think he's in a great situation. I mean, they could be better at the running back position, but they're a team that throws the ball a lot. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, and I mean, we know the talent's there. Just how well can this Falcons offense play?
So, I do think that is still a pretty bold pick. We know first-year tight ends don't typically pan out. Kyle Pitts, for all of his, vaunted draft stock and whatnot, he is still a rookie tight end coming into the NFL. We've seen Matt Ryan have his issues in the throwing game. He's, at the end of the day, he is a bit of a dart throw to me, where I have him outside of that elite range of tight ends because.
Oh, I'm not saying.
I think he has a massive ceiling, but his floor is still very low, just based on the history we've seen with them. I'm going to go ahead and grab Jerry Judy here. I still need to get more wide receiver depth. I like Judy's ability to make plays. He showed us a lot last year. He had a lot of ineligible passes last year, as far as or uncatchable passes last year. Especially if they get Aaron Rodgers, that number's coming down. After him, Tonyan, Hurts, Connor, Landry to Vitale at 8-12. What are you looking at?
Well, I hate you a bit because Judy, I was literally reading some reports and going through. I was like, yeah, I think Judy's a safe pick for me here. I think I'm going to go with him. Now that he's not there, I'm kind of in a lurch. Kind of in a lurch here, trying to look at something to get. I wanted to get a fourth wide receiver that I like here. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and see if Curtis Samuel can repeat with Washington. We all know how much Fitzmagic loves to whip the ball and be down in games and throw just 400 yards, 3-4 touchdowns.
Sure.
He can produce for fantasy managers, not so much for his actual team. So I think there's some value there in that system. Looking here to my next pick, there's some tight ends I like. Are you considering a tight end
here at all? Getting into the ninth round?
I'm honestly looking probably at another running back here just to take a shot at somebody.
Sure.
And honestly, I'm thinking of going Nyheim Hines or Tony Pollard, because I think Tony Pollard has a chance if he was as good as he was last year, maybe he takes over that role and starts stealing from Zeke. But I think Nyheim Hines has a better chance of consistent flex type production with how they use him. So I'm gonna go with Hines there.
I don't hate the Hines pick. I mean, Hines has always provided that just sort of safe value at the running back position. Yep. He's gonna get some pass catching volume.
Frank Reich likes to use him and stuff like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Wentz doesn't throw to the running back as much as Phillip Rivers does, but at the end of the day, that's kind of Nyheim Hines' only job. So if if he's on the field, he has a chance to catch a ball. I think his ceiling is going to come down a bit, but he should still be a good bet to catch 5 or 6 balls a game for 40, 50, maybe 60 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
9-6. I've got a pretty balanced team here, so I can start taking some shots in the dark. So I'm also looking at flex players here. I'm not taking another tight end. That goes without saying. I think I am going to go out and grab Laviska Shenault here. I think he's a really high upside guy, and he could end up being the number one on that team. I'm kind of down on DJ Chark, honestly. So Laviska Shenault, he could not pan out, but he could also be a huge boom player. And at 9.6, I'm comfortable taking that risk. After my pick, it was Devonte Parker, Hollywood Brown, Logan Thomas, and then Frankie is on the clock at 9.10.
I mean, we brought this up when I picked him. I'm just going to grab Stafford here just to make sure he's
going for that stack.
Yeah, I ideally would want to wait till the 10th because that's where I've seen him. I mean, that's where he's been going in the mock drafts that I've done.
Sure. I mean, the difference between 9-10 and 10-3, though, aren't that big.
And it's also, I mean, it just how your draft pans out to. If you see a lot of people taking quarterbacks, then you don't need to worry as much.
Yeah, you can't be static in your draft.
Yeah, and especially for you right there, you can look and see that the next two teams don't have quarterbacks. So
yeah,
it's better to take Stafford there.
And that's why I wasn't worried when it was Ian's pick because I saw those three teams already did have quarterbacks.
And it's a good thing that you did take Stafford there, too, because the 4 picks after you were Gesicki and then Tannehill, Burrow, Matt Ryan. Like, that's a run of quarterbacks right there.
I am going to take another shot in the dark here.
Sure.
I am going to pick up Devonta Smith.
Gross.
I'm team rookie this year. So, actually, you know what? Yeah, I am going to pick up Devonta Smith here.
I think there is there's a lot of upside there, but it all comes down to how much you like Jalen Hurts, in my opinion.
Well, so my thing was, I saw Gallup there. There's a couple other guys, Mike Williams, Antonio Brown. I don't trust Antonio Brown, and there's just a lot of mouths to feed in Dallas. I think Gallup is going to get his, but how much his is suspect.
Sure.
Devonta Smith's probably the best receiver in Philly, just off the rip. So I think the return on value is probably going to be there more so than the other two.
So after your pick, we had Latavius Murray, Irv Smith, and Gus Edwards go off the board. This pick's easy for me, especially with the Jeff Wilson news. We know that Raheem Mostert struggles to stay on the field. We know that San Francisco loves to use their running backs. I'm going to go ahead and grab Trey Sermon here because I think there's a very real chance that just due to either talent or injuries, he ends up being the guy in San Francisco. And at 10-7, if I can get a potential starting running back, that's huge. After Trey Sermon, we had Darrell Henderson, Michael Gallup, Tariq Cohen, and what team is he on now? Ooh, that's different. Jamal Williams is on the Lions. How did I miss that?
Yeah,
Jamal Williams to the Lions, actually pretty interesting. Vitaly, 10-12 to you. Sorry, I got distracted by Jamal Williams.
I saw it too, and I was a little taken back on that one. One guy I'm going to take here just because I've always liked him. I think I love his touchdown upside. I'm going to go ahead and grab Michael Pittman here.
Sure.
I like Paris Campbell a little bit more, but I think the just touchdown upside for Michael Pittman with his size, it's just great. So if he's somebody that could have a breakout year with his already red zone threat that he's built upon, I think he can really hit the ceiling. So right here, I'm considering finally locking up a tight end, but I'm also considering just keeping going and grabbing value elsewhere. For here, I'm actually just going to go ahead and take a gamble on another running back. I'm going to go ahead and grab Philip Lindsay here. I could see him having a situation like when he went to Denver originally and just supplanting old man Johnson.
Sure.
Just because we know how much treads on those tires, and he's still a dynamic back.
After you, we had Tyler Higbee, Jonnu Smith, Antonio Brown, and Mike Williams go off the board. Now it's to me at 11-6, and I am just officially in home run hitting range. I'm trying to grab guys that I think have a chance to be week or league winners. That being said, I'm going to take a bit of a weird pick here, I think. I'm going to go ahead and take T.Y. Hilton here. Mostly because I think he could emerge as the safety blanket for Carson Wentz over there in Indianapolis. We know that Hilton's ceiling isn't that high at this point in his career, but Hilton could be a really nice floor guy, especially if some of my riskier picks aren't panning out, which I think is important to have. So I'm comfortable taking Hilton at the 11-6 spot. After me, we had Evan Ingram, Rob Gronkowski, Jalen Waddle, and then Frankie is on the clock.
I'm gonna pick another tight end here in case Kyle Pitts doesn't pan out, and I'm happy that the guy that I wanted probably second most fell to me. Hunter Henry. I've been picking him late in a lot of drafts. I was hoping Evan Ingram would fall to me because I really like that Giants offense. But with the news of Saquon Barkley, I like it less.
I also don't love Evan Ingram's hands of stone.
Yeah.
Just not even a counter. You're like, he's hands of stone. True.
And just as, I guess another running back I'm just going to add here for a little bit of depth in case somebody goes down. I'm kind of torn between Rashad Penny. Shout out to him getting me into the playoffs that 1 year by 0.6 points.
I think you're actually contractually obligated to take him.
No, I was looking at J.D. McKissic actually because he's getting a lot of he was getting a lot of receiving work at the end of last year. So I really do like him. So I'm kind of torn between that volume because the Seahawks do run a lot, or McKissic. I'm gonna roll the dice here. I'm gonna stick to Penny, and just hope that he retains whatever volume he's had.
So I gotta say I kind of hate that one because you already have Chris Carson. I really don't like doubling down on running backs on the same team. I think it limits your upside, and you're basically using 2 spots in your roster for 1 running back. But each to their own. I at this pick am going to go ahead and snap up Henry Ruggs. I'm just going to keep building on my wide receiver. I feel really comfortable with the running backs that I have at this point. Some solid, generally healthy depth. Henry Ruggs was a highly touted rookie last year. His draft stock's way down because he really just didn't pan out like some of the other ones did. But he didn't have that bad of a rookie year compared to historic rookies. He's had a bad year compared to the rookies last year who were historically good. I think that with another year in that Raiders offense, Henry Ruggs could emerge as the number 1 out there. And as I was saying with Trey Sermon, anytime that I could potentially get a number 1 in an offense this late in the draft, I'm going to take a shot at it. After me, we had James White, Blake Jarwin, Tevin Coleman, and Jalen Reagor go off the board. Vitaly, who are you looking at 12-12?
So I'm probably going to end up pushing my defense off to the Mr. Irrelevant pick here. So I'm actually going to go, and I feel like I'm going a little homer with this, but I'm just going to, like I said, absolute shoot for the moon. I'm actually going to double up Patriots right here. I'm going to go ahead and take Cam Newton with my first pick, and just maybe we get MVP Cam back or something like that. He's definitely droppable at this, at the 12 pick. And then I'm going to take right behind him, I'm going to take Kendrick Bourne and see if I can just guess who the number 1 wide receiver is. And if Cam pops off and has an MVP season, then I've got potentially his number 1 wide receiver who could be a real gem in the late rounds.
So you're betting Kendrick Bourne over Nelson Aguilar?
Yep. I don't like Nelson Aguilar. We've seen what he is. He drops too many balls.
He was good last year. I will agree to disagree there. I think that Nelson Aguilar could be a surprising value this year. For me at 13-6, I'm tempted to take another wide receiver here, but I really don't need another wide receiver.
There's a couple good ones out there though.
There are, but I think I'd rather. I really don't like any of the running backs on the board either. Honestly, I think here I'm going to just snap up some running back depth for the sake of snapping up running back depth. I'm going to go ahead and draft Kenneth Gainwell here. He is a rookie draft by Philadelphia. Miles Sanders has been underwhelming for several years in a row now. Kenneth Gainwell could have flex value just for the sake of playing into the rotation. And if Miles Sanders goes down or gets hurt or just sucks and Kenneth Gainwell is playing well, he easily could emerge as the primary back on that team. Maybe not the full-blown bell cow, but at least the primary. Cole Beasley, Kirk Cousins, John Brown went after me. Who are you looking at 13-10, Frankie?
Yeah, the Cole Beasley pick really hurt me there. That's how I was hoping it would fall to me.
Were you hoping for the Beasley Weasel?
I was hoping for the guy who's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way.
Yeah, the Beasley Weasel, Frankie.
I am just going to pick Christian Kirk here.
Sure. Boring, I like it.
Yeah, he's been fine. He's in an offense that's going to throw the ball a lot and run, or at least run a lot of plays. Maybe not throw the ball, but I think the opportunity is there, whatever. And then with my Mr. Irrelevant pick, I'm going to go with the football team. They looked good last year, and that's pretty much it.
Solid analysis there, Frankie.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and select the New England Patriots defense at 14-7. They improved a lot in the offseason.
Yeah, they did.
And they already weren't bad. Like, if even some of those offseason moves work out, they could be a huge defense for fantasy managers this year. All right, Vitaly, literally the last pick in the draft. Who are you taking?
Well, I don't have a tight end, and I don't have a defense, so basically it's which one do I want to stream? So, Steelers are versing the Bills in week 1, so I don't want them. One that was surprised was ranked low is the Rams. They have a great matchup week 1 against the Bears. Looking at this one here, I'm just going to go ahead and take, 24 second. Who are the Eagles playing? Jets. Who are the Saints playing week 1? Green Bay? Yeah, I'll go ahead and grab the Saints and just guess that it's going to be a Jordan Love show week 1.
Sure.
I think
you can make more
Saints,
sense.
If Saints catch a Aaron Rodgers-less wide receiver-less Green Bay, I think it's going to be a pretty nice day for the Saints defense.
All right. Do you guys want to talk through our teams real fast? Say what you like, what you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, first I was gonna ask. Other than we can do my thing after, but I was gonna ask if anything really stuck out to you guys.
Patrick Mahomes in second's weird. I wouldn't take him that high.
Yeah, no,
he's not even he's definitely not the first quarterback off my board, and no quarterbacks are worth taking in the second. Travis Kelce going in the second also sticking out to me. I have him going in the first round in most leagues.
Yeah, I think it's also. I mean, it's telling that he went in the second too. Pat Mahomes, that is, because I mean, there's a whole round of nobody taking quarterbacks in between. I mean, yeah, that seems like a reach.
And one thing that kind of stuck in my head that you said, Ian, that also when you look at the board, you were saying about zigging when you have to zag. Now everyone knows what take the running quarterbacks early, and there's not as much value in the later rounds, which is true to a point. But I feel like if there was ever a time to try and use the late quarterback strategy, I think it's this year, because right now, as you look, quarterbacks are going early. People are taking the Murrays, Allens, Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, they're all going in the top 6 rounds easily. I think this year, because of that, you can see some guys falling that have some sneaky value because of all the quarterbacks that are pushing them down.
Shout out to Matt Stafford.
The big difference for me is just that there's such a clear tier break between the running quarterbacks and the non-running quarterbacks that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't get a guy who can do work on the ground and through the air. And the guys that have that ability are mostly going in the first 6 rounds. So you have to sort of almost plan your draft around trying to grab one of them, knowing that it might be a little more expensive than what you typically want, but because of the upside that it presents and the positional difference maker that they can be, that it could still be worth it in the long run, especially when you look at the guys that are going around them. I already had a tight end locked up. The guys I would have been looking at around Lamar Jackson were Kareem Hunt, Cooper Kupp, Melvin Gordon, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Edmonds. I'd rather just take arguably one of the top 3 fantasy quarterbacks on the board at that spot instead of trying to grab the wide receiver 20 or the running back 20. Yeah,
it kind of stuck. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I understand what you're saying, and it does make sense taking Lamar Jackson there. I guess what I'm saying is, it's easy to do that strategy of go quarterback late when there is so much quarterback value late. I think it's now that the quarterbacks are actually going early, I think there's a way you can plan your draft to go later, take a Stafford, Russell Wilson, at least for the beginning of the year, because we know he's hot in the beginning. I think there's a lot of options in the mid to later rounds where if you're patient, you can get a solid quarterback, you can go streamer, because there's always somebody who pops in the later rounds, and try and just stack your team in the early rounds with the stuff that's going to be falling, because people like Mahomes, Allen, all of them are going to go. But I don't know. Like I said, it's one thing that kind of popped out to me, that this year seems to be a lot more quarterback heavy in the earlier rounds.
All right. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts of what we've already talked about?
Yeah, I think the only thing, like I said, for my own draft, I think the one thing I would have done going back is something else you said. No, because I'll just grab whoever's got a good tight end. I'll just drop somebody who's not looking like they're going to do anything and just pick up a tight end for the week 1 matchup, because we all know late tight ends are basically all the same. So,
well, actually, I do actually have a question for that, though. I mean, of who you drafted, who would you drop for the tight end?
It'd be probably between Kendrick Bourne and Pittman to see if there's some camp reports that aren't looking good or something like that. If there's a juicy matchup out there, like I'm not too attached to most of my late round guys. I think most of them are very cuttable. Philip Lindsay, if he's not taking any reps with the first team and he's purely just going to be a backup guy, he could easily get cut. I think those would be my picks right there. But
all right.
Yeah, but like what I was saying is the early round, when I got to my turnaround, I love Calvin Ridley right there. I think it's great value. With how fast running back dries up and how bad it dries up and the tier breaks that you really get, I think I would have went triple running back for position 1 and just went, CEH into Miles Sanders or J.K. Dobbins or Montgomery and like whoever I think is the best or whoever you think is the best. I just think it's a very valuable triple because then you can come around and still get quality, middle to round guys in the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I really like being able to draft like the 4 to 6 spot because you can lock up a really good running back in the first round and then turn around and lock up a really good running back in the second round also. I think that's my one gripe at drafting at like the 1, 2, or 3 is by the time you get to those spots, the running back pool's really starting to dry up already because of how fast they go off the board at this point. Like I think there's a lot of advantage to be had by having a middle of the first round pick.
I 100% agree.
All right. Yeah. Well, that'll do it for our first mock draft of the season. Keep an eye on the horizon for us as we're working to get our website up and running. We'll have our rankings up on there as soon as the website's up and fully functional, as well as some articles for you guys. And join us probably in a week or two when we do our draft tips and tricks and things that random bits of knowledge that we've accumulated over the years to try and help you guys be better fantasy football managers, both leading up to your drafts and in your drafts. Outsmart your mouth breather opponents. As always, if you like what we are bringing to the table here, like, subscribe, comment. Every little bit of interaction helps. And if you really think that we're doing a bang up job, share us with your friends. Put us on for your puppy or your goldfish or your pet rock or whatever, because the view time matters as well as extra eyeballs. That's all for me. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
No, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
I mean, apparently, I'm excited for preseason start because it hasn't started yet. So.
Yep. Yeah. That's the big thing. I'm looking forward to mini camps launching so I can get my first little dose of football. All right. Well, that'll do it for us. You guys have a good one. We'll see you in a couple weeks.